Welcome back to video number 2, and here we talk about the healing with PEMF, healing effects of PEMF. And believe me, it's not a miracle cure. It's a fantastic tool that I really recommend everybody to have and to use and to apply for. It's really important, but it's certainly no miracle cure. And you will understand the principle of the device in this short video. So let's look first at preparation and care, best practice, precautions, dangers, and then we look at all the other effects, what it actually does. So best practice, first of all, if you offer a treatment or if you share it with others, lots of our clients have a machine and they have 5, 6 other people come along and pay $20, $30, $50 depending on which machine as a treatment for 15 minutes, you know, you can make that really, really effective. Like one lady here just in the neighborhood, she offers that service and she has a lot of friends from her cancer support community. So they all come and she has one afternoon where they all have treatment, or 2 afternoons where they all have treatments for 15 minutes. And she's actually financing her machine really well. So there is many of possibilities, but one thing is very important, Weaver. You do not treat disease. Very importantly, it's just a legal fact. What you do is you promote health. And the next 4 steps that we talk about will explain exactly what PEMF does. So if you need to explain what they come for or what the effects are, usually you don't need to explain. They try it once and then they come back automatically because they're addicted. But if you want to explain it, you will use those arguments. You promote health and do not treat disease. And you're on the safe side. No challenges, no legal problems, no prosecution, no nothing, because you do not diagnose nor do you treat disease. And you don't need to with this device because it's all on automatic modus. Now, if you want to share it with others, increased power, less time. So if you want to stay people for half an hour with you, then that's fine per treatment, and you would have you could use a less powered machine. If you have lots of clients going through, you have not that much time, you increase the power of the device and therefore you need less time to have the same effects. And one thing I always notice, a lot of people are very impatient. I bought the machine, I used it yesterday and I'm still in pain, or I still have the cancer. You know, that's what takes 50 to 80 years. Takes a long time to repair. It's not overnight. And as I said, it's not a miracle cure. You will see now what it does, what PEMF does. And that's something that will regenerate and restore health. But it's not something that is just like those pills where your headache is gone in 5 minutes and you have 50 side effects. You don't have side effects. You don't have any damage. You all have just a pure healing effect. So, precautions. When you have someone come for a treatment, there is a few very basic rules. The strong device, the PMT 120, and this is really like that ringer device which has a high power, you don't want to offer that treatment for someone who has a wallet, credit cards, keys, you know, those expensive remote control car keys in their pocket, because they die. You know, you can see here this is a metal chain. And that's the sparks this thing throws out. So it's huge. They will fry, they will be dead. And I killed several credit cards and a car key, $800. So it's something you want to be careful about. A lot of people also forget their hearing aids. So ask them to take that out. You don't want to use any of those devices with fine electronics or sit there with your mobile phone and have treatment. So put those things aside and do the treatment. It's short enough to live without your electronics. And there is only a few more issues that I would like to be very wary of. For the oscillating devices, like the weaker devices up to 1000 Gauss, I wouldn't worry about stents and implants and clips and all of that, or pacemaker. Pacemaker, be careful. But for the strong device, for the coil device, the PMT 120, definitely be extremely careful. You don't want to blow someone's pacemaker and then they have no activity, heart activity anymore. Not good. Stents, bypass surgery, or in the brain, those clips can rupture if there is too much of a magnetic firing, so be careful with them. And necklaces and chains and rings are actually not a problem. You don't even feel it. See, this guy has in his bare hands the ring and the loop, and it fires and it throws meter-long sparks. It's pretty much like the Tesla coil. High voltage, low amps. You don't even feel those sparks. You can hold that directly in your hand and you won't feel anything. So don't be worried about this. This is just purely an effect that happens from the chain, from the connecting parts where they melt and weld together. So don't take it off, put it in the basket at the front, put your waiver up front, and explain to people when they use it the first time that it's their responsibility. They leave their hearing aid in and it's dead afterwards, or they leave their pocket, their wallet, that it's dead and it's not your responsibility. And like me, you do it maybe 2 times, 3 times, and then you'll know. So just be careful. Okay, first step, PEMF for pain. That's actually where it became most, well, known. It was one of the first things to create the fame effect for PEMF. Because when you use those devices, one thing is obvious, your pain level goes down dramatically. Now for the big pulsing device, like the PMT 120, it's quite normal because they pulse anyway in a very slow rate, and that just brings all your nervous system down to theta and to delta waves, which is 5 pulses per second. So that calms everything down, and you realize even though this is quite a big magnetic wave that travels into your body, it still calms you down. It still quiets you down. It helps you with brain damage, with nerve repair, with everything. So in the oscillating devices, you would say there is different frequencies programmed. Like we have our device now set up with program 1 would be starting at the low frequencies from 1 or 0 to about 4 Hertz. And you go in what we call the wobble effect. You go up and down because anything static, your body gets resistant to. You won't feel it anymore. It's like you numb to the effect. So it needs to be a sweep or a wobble effect, and that's what we've built in program 1. It's all about nerve repair, deep sleep, regeneration, all the low frequencies. And then we have 1 which is from 5 till about 15, which is for bone growth and for ligament repair. It's for osteoporosis, for fractures, for any kind of joint problems, or, arthritis. All of that will then be activated in that field. And then as we go up, I won't go through all the programs, but they list slowly up, and then the last 2 are sweep programs, which go from the bottom all the way up, or reverse, from all the way up, down. So when you start full on activating, giving your energy in the evening, then starting to go through all the different activations, and then it ends with a long phase at the end, calming you down and bringing you down and reducing pain. And so it's really something beautiful to see how those waves actually influence, starting from beta, bright awake, relaxing you in alpha, which is about the 10 Hertz, going down to 5 Hertz, which is about the theta state, 4 point something, and then you go into delta, which is deep sleep, which is 1-2 Hertz. And that is a very powerful tool to use for relaxation, for pain relief. And for those of you who think, what has pain to do with the low theta wave state? It's very simple. What happens when you fall asleep? Your toothache is gone, your ache, whatever, your joint pain, everything is gone. You wake up and it's back. So during that theta phase, you don't have pain receptors active. Those nerve reactions are not existent. Your brain switches them off. And that's what you feel as soon as you bring your body into that theta state, it's gone. We use, for people who can't afford a PEMF machine, we use the TH Pro, which is a device that does the same thing with light and sound, whereas here it's done with magnetic waves. So if you are looking for better sleep and deep relaxation and healing phase, then the TH Pro is a very good alternative. But in the PEMF machine, you have that all together with immune boosting and everything else. So just to let you know that you can use that in the same way. Okay, next effect, probably one of the most important, And you know me from my other videos, I always say that's the most important. But it is. We are all toxic, huge toxicity. And we've done hundreds of tests with people. Let me just blow this up very short so that you, oops, I'm sliding everything across, that you can see it. Now this is a chart, and you can see here mercury levels, very, very high. Cadmium levels, very high. This person has Spithmood poisoning, has silver. Silver and mercury are always hand in hand, and aluminium poisoning. So when you have a person that has such high toxic levels, overall toxicity over 100%, then that's quite crucial. That causes inflammation, that causes brain fog, that causes all sorts of problems, including cancer, because it's a neurotoxin, so it's very dangerous to have high toxicity levels. Now what happens is that those toxins, those heavy metal particles, actually block your cell membrane channels. Let's just say this is the cell, and you can see here the lipid profile, which is protecting the inside of the cell where you have the nuclei and the ATP production, the factory of energy production, and the outside plasma, the blood plasma or the cell plasma. So there is receptors that take certain products in. Let's say you have here selenium going into the cell, or zinc or magnesium going into the cell, and your cell needs those minerals to function properly. It's the nutrients and the vitamins that actually make that happen in here. So the same molecule as, for example, mercury has is blocked by mercury, and zinc and selenium and magnesium can't go into the cell. And that's what you realize here, those sodium channels, potassium channels, glucose channels in that cell wall block up with toxins. And then you have huge amounts of supplements, and they float in the plasma, but they don't go into the cells. And then if you check your intracellular levels, they are extremely low. But in the cell is where they're needed, not in the plasma. You can take huge amounts of glutathione and put that into your bloodstream. It's not absorbed into the cells. And it's the same thing here. If you have people that have very low iodine levels, and many of you have noticed that, you supplement with iodine, you take Lugol solution, you do everything, and your levels don't go up. And that's because those pathways are blocked. Iodine, for example, is very directly linked to lead and to mercury. So if there is lots of lead poisoning here in your chart, then those pathways are all blocked up. And that's where Detox with PEMF comes in. When you start rattling your cells and you shake them with the big loop and you send magnetic waves into those cells, then they start to vibrate. And it's similar, you can imagine that similar to a dog that shakes itself, all the dirt flies off and all the water flies off. Not all, but big portions of it. And that's what we've noticed. As soon as you start rattling that cell with magnetic waves, all of those toxins are flushed out. Now that's something we noticed. Dr. Gary Gordon has done lots of research, and in Germany Dr. Rau has done a lot. They measure toxic levels before and after with every client, before they start treatment and then as they go through treatment and then afterwards, to see how heavy metal toxicity, plastic toxicity comes down. And what we've noticed is that when you increase with PEMF, the detox, that your levels go down dramatically. And we've created a blog post here. Go to bentonite clay detox in our blogs and watch that and read that. It shows you exactly how you can increase your detox manyfold with clay and combination of PEMF. And the research shows it's a huge advantage. But, and this is where a lot of people then fail because they don't have the education that you're getting right now. When you throw out toxins out of the cell and you clear out all those toxin particles, all of a sudden nutrients go into your cell and your cell goes like, oh, great. But where do those toxins go? Those toxins go into your bloodstream. And in your bloodstream, they are filtering through, and the liver filters all of your blood. So it goes into the liver, is filtered out, then it goes into your bile duct and travels down, and then it ends up right in the beginning of your small intestine. You look right after your stomach. So when your food goes down, and then right there is all the toxins flushed out. Now that's a big problem, and I think the universe, or our evolution of man, was never prepared to that amount of toxins and heavy metal pollution as we have today. So that process here is quite dangerous, because all the toxins flush in here, and as they travel through your small intestine and then go through your colon and then all the way out until you poop them out, they are reabsorbed. And that's where the danger is. A lot of people, when they start using PEMF, they feel a Herxheimer reaction, nausea, they get dizzy, they get headaches, and that's because toxins are flushed out into the bloodstream, into the plasma, are filtered out by the liver, and then they are reabsorbed, and then they really cause havoc in the body. So what you want to do is actually prepare your body. Prepare before you do PEMF. And the preparation is pretty simple. You take clay, edible clay, or you use clay bath, and you fill your body with binders. Binders that bind to those heavy metals so that they can be excreted and rendered neutral. Zeolite, you can use the zeolite spray. We love that because it's so fine, it's nanoparticles. It actually crosses the blood-brain barrier and it's absorbed sublingual, so it's really great. You can get zeolite powder. You can get an infrared sauna and pull it out from the outside. You can take chlorella, which is a fiber, green fiber, algae, which binds to heavy metals. Modified citrus pectin. Plenty of research studies show that that is binding to heavy metals that are floating in your system. Now, if you take modified citrus pectin and chlorella and fiber and lots of fiber, and there is many more, and activated charcoal and clay, and you fill your gut and your intestines with all of that because you take it regularly, let's say for a week, and then you flush out toxins with PEMF, you release them out of every cell and they flush out into your system, they can be trapped and actually not reabsorb but go out with your poo. And that's what you want. If you have problems already with a congested liver, with liver overload, with everything, then I would recommend PEMF and afterwards a sauna or hypothermia dome, or go directly after PEMF into a clay bath to pull those toxins out, or make poultices and masks to drag it out. Or if you take chelators like garlic and all of that, then they will bind and they will taken out through the urine. DMPS, EDTA, there's plenty. So there is like a huge way to build up, but just PEMF without preparing can be quite dangerous. So be careful of that. Once you prepare, you can see here in this chart, this was the client that we did, and within 8 weeks, look at the levels. They have come down. The red has come down, right down, and then silver has gone down. So it's been quite a dramatic change just by using PEMF and clay. And I think that's what you want to do too, in order to really have those effects. Okay? Now, the next subject that we talk about is oxygenation through PEMF. And let's just look at these particles, how they look like in the blood. When you have a full-on energized red blood cell, through the lungs, when you breathe in, those oxygen particles are actually added or attached to the red blood cells, and with your bloodstream, those are then transported to every cell, to every organ, into everywhere. Now, if you have that exchange within the lung, and that's why humming is so intensely increasing the oxygen uptake, because it's the vibrational energy. You remember when we excite particles, they charge up and they get fully charged. Now that's why humming in fresh air and grounding yourself will do a very similar job. You really increase oxygen uptake. But let's just say you go into a clinic and they give you a mask and you start breathing and you sit in your chair. Nothing is going to change. Oxygen is not even absorbed because these clunked cells cannot carry any oxygen. And that's why Ardenne, for example, does a different concept. You go on a bicycle and you treadmill and you start struggling up a hill and you start breathing like crazy and breathe pure oxygen. And that's when then the energy that you produce is absorbed into the bloodstream, and then they start to clear out. Singlet oxygen takes oxygen out of the air and produces within light and electric fields in here activated singlet oxygen, which is then full on energized, and that is immediately available to your cells. So when you use singlet oxygen, you actually create recharged blood particles, and they will then be absorbed a lot easier. But PEMF does that automatically. So it's like when you go and have a blood like this, you have with the big ringer device a 5-minute treatment, not even 6 minutes or 3 minutes. Your blood looks like that. It's full on recharged, and then you breathe oxygen and it can be carried into your body. And this is why all treatment modalities in Europe, in all big clinics, first use PEMF and then they start the treatment. Even hyperbaric oxygen, you first start with pumping up the body with energy so that those cells can actually take up energy when they are forced in under pressure. And you can see here a video. We've done that with Gladys. She arrived from the airport from England and came to the clinic. Was very exhausted. Her blood looked like that. It was really clotted up. You can see it in the video. And then Dr. Sauper was giving her PEMF treatment, very short. And then she sat back down and had the microscope, and you can see the direct change. It's like really intense. And that's what we want. We want oxygen uptake to be massively increased, and we can compensate that and, you know, complement that with singlet oxygen or with an oxygen bottle or with hyperbaric oxygen. But if your blood looks like that, all of this won't help. And that's why we rather energize it first and then have that effect. Now, the next element that is crucial as well is nutrification. And that's so logical and so simple, yet a lot of people don't realize how important it is. A lot of the supplements that you take, a lot of the IV treatments that you get, where do they go? Straight back out. You know, there is no absorption rate. And those of you who try to supplement a deficiency and realized, okay, I'm low in manganese or I'm very low in zinc, and I would like to bring that up in phosphorus, and you take supplements for 3-4 months, and your uptake is so minimal, is so reduced that you get, I tried it myself. I was trying, you know, to increase my zinc levels, and it was just impossible. Now what happens? It's the same thing. You have those channels, sodium channel, ion channel, potassium channel, all of those where these nutrients go into the cell and are regulated. Now, if they're blocked with toxins, if they're blocked with xenoestrogens and with any kind of heavy metals, then those pathways are closed. And that's what you realize here. People with very high mercury, what do they have? Very low selenium, very low iodine. Crucially, this is directly linked because your body needs iodine, needs selenium to detoxify mercury. Okay, if that's the case, and that's not absorbed into the cell, and this is not excreted, you've exhausted your natural detox system. And that's what we found. As soon as you start then vibrating those cells and shake off all of those toxins, you pull them out with chelators, and at the same time you supplement very, very high doses here of iodine or selenium or any of those, you all of a sudden bring up those levels. And in our app, when you look at detoxification of mercury, for example, it shows that metal antagonists, antagonist means those who help you detoxify mercury, are selenium, zinc, iron and iodine. And if you have a copper and zinc imbalance, a block like both of them high, that means copper is blocking the pathway for zinc to get into the cell. So you increase your zinc supplementation until it switches over and flushes out all the copper. Again, doing that with PEMF is greatly increased. You increase, go to a doctor and get an IV treatment and then check your levels before and after in the blood, what your nutritional levels in full blood tests are, and you will see it does very little. Whereas if you combine it with PEMF, that uptake is so fast and so intense that you reduce your cost for supplementation drastically, and the effects are a lot faster. Again, I have to compliment Dr. Rao in many ways. When we were there, what they do is they do a complete nutritional level of minerals, of vitamins, of phytonutrients, of bile acids, of everything, of every client to check out how do they actually absorb nutrients and where are the deficiencies. And then they build those packs, which are really great. They are sodium bicarbonate infusions. And then the nurse takes out of a huge cabinet all the different nutrients, and whatever was low is then filled in. They have a PEMF treatment first. They think in the clinic they have over 20 PEMF devices in every infusion room, in every treatment room, in every massage room. So they prime the patient with energy, fill up all those cells, clean out all the gunk from the cells, and then they do those nutrification packs and B vitamins and whatever. And all of a sudden the uptake, and within 1 week, the patient is here all in the green, all perfect, and the treatments start to respond. So this is a perfect concept of combining those two together. And as a result, and I don't say it's an activation, it's actually the result. We know it's the negative ions that recharge your cell, but it's also that life force that comes with it. When you have people that are treated, and we just had a nice story back from a retirement village. She said, "Oh my God, I don't know whether we've done something really good or not, but we have dancing in the corridor, we have libido problems and falling in love and all sorts of youth problems in our retirement village since we've induced those mats." And I think that's a nice problem to have, because if you get that added life force, it's a huge benefit. And you see that animals love those devices. You turn it on and your dog, your cat, everybody will jump onto the mat and will lay there, and they love it. Actually, the whole thing came from racehorses. You will find no racehorse in this world, not one of those high quality, very high priced jumping horses or racehorses that is not treated regularly with PEMF. It's something that will strengthen their ligaments, strengthen their bones, intensifies their blood circulation. It increases the energy uptake. It's fantastic. And I was first scared, you know, big animal. They can kick, they can bite. So I was not really, and you know, you see the teeth. So I was kind of worried, but they lean into that loop, they roll around, they really look that it's getting to those spots where they need it. And there's actually doctors who use PEMF devices for animals now and for dogs, because the effects on them are equally powerful as they are for adults. And when you have a mat like that, you will see that your cat is rolling up here and your dog is sitting by your feet and you won't get rid of them. So it's a beautiful activation of the whole family, and not only yourself, probably your children, once they realize the power, will use it after sports. And I'll show you some images later when we talk about sport activation. So that concludes video number 2, and I'm going to jump as the next one into particular types of treatments and cancers so that you realize the relevance of PEMF within that treatment.